In synagogue this week, we read that during the 40 years the Israelites spent in the desert, everyone did what he or she thought was right. What a utopia that must have been, right? Wrong. Shalom, my friends. Yes, the statement in Deuteronomy about everyone doing what they each thought was right was not a description of a utopian society. It's a description of chaos. In that verse, Moses is telling the Israelites not to behave that way when they enter the promised land. He says, "You shall not do according to all that we are doing here today, everyone doing whatever is right in their own eyes." At first, that sounds strange.
That's dumb.
Isn't doing what seems right a good thing? Surely it has to be better than knowingly doing what is wrong. But the Torah is warning us about something deeper and crucially important, and that is what seems right to me is not necessarily what is right. We human beings are remarkably skilled at justifying what we already want to do. So anger can look like righteous indignation, or self-interest like principle. Pride can disguise itself as courage, and convenience can quietly become our standard of truth. If my own judgment is the highest authority, I will usually discover that the quote-unquote right thing happens to be whatever I already preferred.
No, them things is very, very wrong.
As I said, this verse appears as Moses prepares to lead Israel into the promised land, which of course he doesn't do, Joshua does. But in the wilderness, the people were living under temporary and unsettled conditions. Upon entering the land, they were not to turn religious life into a collection of private practices, with each person inventing his or her own way of approaching God. Israel would have a covenant, a Torah, and a place of worship chosen by God. The verse is especially striking because the book of Judges later describes Israel's spiritual collapse with almost the same words. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. That sentence does not describe a society in which everyone was sincerely pursuing goodness. It describes a society losing any standard beyond the self. Notice that the danger is not merely everyone doing what is wrong. The greater danger is everyone redefining right and wrong for themselves. Because once that happens, correction becomes virtually impossible. If I'm the author of my own moral law, then anyone who challenges me can simply be dismissed as someone with a different opinion. The Torah, therefore, teaches that sincerity alone is not enough. A person must be sincere and can still be mistaken. Conscience is precious, but conscience must be educated. Moral intuition matters, but it must be formed by something wiser and more enduring than our moods, our appetites, and our personal circumstances. This does not mean that Judaism asks us to stop thinking. On the contrary, the Torah requires study and questioning and reasoning and debate. But there's a profound difference between interpreting a truth to which I am accountable and inventing a truth that is accountable only to me. We bring our minds to Torah, but we do not place ourselves above the Torah. Deuteronomy, therefore, is not an argument for blind conformity. It's an argument for humility. It asks us to acknowledge we have blind spots, that desire can distort our judgment, and that we need a moral standard other than ourselves. Before asking, does this feel right to me? We should ask, is it truly right? What does God want? What does the wisdom of the Torah and the responsibilities of the covenant demand of me? A healthy society can't survive when every individual becomes his or her own final authority. And a faithful life cannot be built merely upon whatever seems right in the moment. The Torah calls us to something higher, not simply to do what is right in our own eyes, but to train our eyes to recognize what is right in the eyes of God. Have you ever had an experience where you thought you were doing the right thing, but it turns out later that what you thought was right was wrong? Would you be brave enough to share that in the comments box? If you do, I promise to respond to your comment. I certainly hope you found the video worthy of serious consideration. And if you did, let me ask you to like it, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and help us get our videos in front of more viewers. Also, you can help us by subscribing. And I'm very happy to say we are now over 1,000 subscribers. So I want to thank each and every one of you who have already subscribed. But if you haven't, it's never too late. We're working now towards 2,000 subscribers. All you have to do, other than being logged into YouTube, is click on my face right over here. Or you can watch another video by clicking on its icon right over there. As ever, until next time, Shabbat Shalom.